Her season started early the moment she saw me. The trees were enormous, their trunks glowing faintly with soft green light, and the leaves shimmered like they were dusted with stars. Strange, delicate creatures flitted through the air, leaving trails of light as they moved. Elias had seen images of this planet, read reports, and studied the bioscans, but nothing had prepared him for the reality. His boots crunched over the soft, mossy ground as he adjusted the straps of his pack. He was here not just as a scout but as a xenobiologist, a scientist trained to study life forms in ways that combined curiosity with caution. And yet, something about this forest felt alive in a deeper way, almost aware of his presence. "Keep your sensors open," his voice echoed through the comlink to the small team following him. "Violia isn't like any other planet we've been to. Watch the flora, watch the fauna, and above all, stay alert." The team, small and specialized, nodded over the comms. They had all been trained for first contact with intelligent species, but none of them had ever encountered a species quite like the one that would appear before Elias today. He paused, sensing movement nearby. A low hum filled the air, a vibration, almost like the pulse of the planet itself. He looked up and froze. There she was. The creature emerged from the shadows between the towering trees. At first, Elias thought it was a massive reptile, but as she stepped into the glowing light, he realized she was something far more remarkable. Her body was long and sinuous, like a serpent, but upright and graceful. Her skin shimmered in shades of deep violet and green, and along her back were ridges that pulsed with light, almost like a heartbeat. Her eyes, intelligent, curious, and golden, fixed on him immediately. Elias felt a thrill of both fear and wonder. This was the Virelian matriarch. The species had been observed from a distance before, but no human had ever come close enough to be noticed or acknowledged by one. And now she was looking directly at him. "She's aware," Elias whispered into his comm, though no one else needed to hear it. The word didn't feel sufficient. She wasn't just aware, she was evaluating, sensing something unique about him. According to Virelia's bioscans, this was the beginning of her season, a period when the matriarch became extraordinarily sensitive to life around her. Most species would react with aggression or flight when threatened during this time, but she didn't move away. She didn't threaten. She simply watched with a calm that made Elia's chest tighten. He slowly lowered his pack, showing no sign of aggression. He remembered the training. Sudden movements could trigger attack behaviors, even in a normally calm creature. The matriarch tilted her head, studying him as if she understood. Elias took a cautious step forward. Time seemed to stretch. Birds, if they could be called that, sang in strange harmonies in the distance. Leaves rustled softly, and the glow of the forest pulsed in rhythm with her body. Every instinct told him to freeze, to retreat, but he couldn't. Something about this moment demanded presence, demanded courage. Then, as if deciding he was worthy of attention, she slithered forward. Her movement was hypnotic, fluid, and terrifying. Elias held his ground, heart pounding. His scientific mind tried to catalog everything. Her scales, the way her eyes reflected light, the rhythm of her pulse. And yet it wasn't just science. He felt a connection, a strange resonance. Humans, he realized, might carry an energy that resonated with life in ways no scanner could detect. The matriarch stopped just a few meters away. She lowered her head slightly as though bowing, not in submission but in acknowledgement. Elias blinked. He could hear the soft, vibrating hum again coming from her throat. It was a sound that seemed to communicate calm curiosity, even something approaching trust. "Remarkable," he muttered, speaking mostly to himself. Humans might be the only species capable of this kind of connection here. He slowly reached into his pack, taking out a small sensor device to record her energy patterns. The matriarch didn't recoil. She tilted her head again, watching every movement. Elias felt a thrill. If this reading worked, it could explain why humans seem to stand out on so many alien worlds. Our adaptability, our intelligence, perhaps even our unique energy signatures, could influence ecosystems in ways no other species could. The matriarch's hum grew slightly louder. Leaves around her vibrated. Elia's hand froze in midair, realizing he had unintentionally triggered a reaction. But instead of aggression, she moved closer. A sudden thought hit him. She wasn't just curious. She was seeking interaction. Early reports had suggested that during her season, the matriarch would engage with the strongest or most interesting life form in the forest. And now she had chosen him. His calm crackled. "Captain Kane's status?" asked Lieutenant Mara, his second in command. Elias swallowed. I think she's responding to me," he whispered, awestruck. "She's initiating contact." Mara's voice was sharp. "Maintain distance, don't provoke her." "I know," Elias said. "I'm not moving, just observing." For what felt like hours, but was likely only minutes, the matriarch circled him, her glowing body weaving patterns through the air. She seemed playful, testing his reactions, measuring his calm. Elias realized humans might be uniquely capable of such interactions. Unlike other species, he didn't panic, he didn't flee, he analyzed, he adapted. And perhaps that was what mattered most to her. Suddenly, a noise in the distance shattered the calm. A pack of smaller predators, drawn by the matriarch's presence, began approaching. Their teeth glinted, their bodies low to the ground, moving with deadly intent. Elias froze, torn between fear for himself and fear for the creature before him. Without thinking, he acted. He grabbed a small device from his pack and triggered a sonic pulse that confused the predators. They yelped and scattered, disoriented. The matriarch paused, golden eyes locking onto him. For the first time, Elias saw something akin to approval in her gaze. He breathed a slow sigh, feeling the tension drain. "You see, I'm not just a threat," he said softly. "I can help you." Her hum vibrated through the ground, echoing like a song of understanding. Elias had no words for it, no scientific explanation. Only the deep, undeniable truth that humans were different. In this forest, on this alien world, he could make a difference. The matriarch began moving again, slower this time, circling him like a guardian. Elias followed cautiously, knowing any wrong step could end badly. Yet he felt a strange exhilaration. This was not a hunt, not a fight. It was a test, and perhaps the first true moment where human ingenuity and courage had won the respect of a creature far beyond his comprehension. He stopped near a crystal-clear stream. The matriarch lowered her head to drink, her glowing ridges reflecting in the water. Elias crouched nearby, careful not to startle her. The forest around them pulsed in quiet rhythm, alive and aware. He felt a deep connection with life on this planet and a strange pride in what humanity could offer. Hours passed. The sun, or Virelia's twin suns, shifted in the sky. The matriarch finally looked at him once more, as if to say, "Enough for today." Then with a fluid, silent motion, she disappeared into the forest, leaving Elias standing alone by the stream, heart still racing. He exhaled, overwhelmed by both fear and wonder. He knew this encounter was only the beginning. Something had changed. Humans were not just visitors on Virelia. They were now part of its story. The matriarch's early season had started because of him, and with it, Elias understood that his species' role in the galaxy might be greater than anyone had imagined. Returning to his calm, he whispered to his team, She saw me, and I think she trusts us, for now." The forest seemed to hum in agreement, as if Virelia itself had acknowledged his presence. And Elias Kane realized in that quiet, glowing moment that humans were more than adaptable, they were remarkable. This was only the beginning. Elias Kane woke to the soft glow of Virelia's twin suns filtering through the canopy. The forest pulsed with life, every leaf and branch shimmering as if breathing, but the calm from the previous encounter had faded. The matriarch's presence weighed on his mind. She had trusted him, but the forest was far from safe. He adjusted his pack and checked his sensors. The data from yesterday was still playing in his mind. Her scales had shifted colors in response to his energy, her hum had resonated through the ground, and the predators had scattered at his intervention. He knew one thing clearly: humans were different here, and that difference had consequences. Lieutenant Mara's voice crackled through his calm. "Captain Kane, status report. Any sightings today?" Elias paused. "No predators yet. The matriarch is not in immediate danger, but I think she's moving. Her path is unpredictable and she might be heading into unstable territory." "Unstable territory?" Mara asked sharply. "You mean like hostile?" "Exactly," Elias replied. "Rivers, cliffs, predators. The matriarch is intelligent, but she's vulnerable during her early season. We need to stay ahead of her and protect her." Mara's sigh carried concern. "This is why I told you to keep distance. We don't even know the full consequences of interacting with her." Elias ignored the warning, already moving toward the last location where he had seen the matriarch. The forest seemed alive around him, shifting with every step. Strange vines twisted across the path, glowing insects swirled in patterns, and distant calls of alien creatures echoed in the treetops. Elia's senses were alert. One wrong step could trigger disaster. After hours of careful tracking, he spotted her again. The matriarch was near a small river, shimmering under the twin suns. She raised her head as he approached, golden eyes meeting his. She did not flee. Instead, she moved closer to him, almost as if to guide him. Elias crouched carefully, trying to show calm. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. "I'm here to help." Her hum vibrated gently through the ground. Elias felt it in his chest like a subtle, powerful reassurance. He took a deep breath. This was no ordinary interaction. Humans had never influenced an apex species like this before, and he felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the opposite bank. Small, sleek predators, fast and sharp-toothed, slipped through the undergrowth, clearly hunting. They had smelled the matriarch and were taking advantage of her vulnerability during her early season. Elias froze for a heartbeat, then acted. He scanned the area quickly, spotting a cluster of glowing crystals nearby. He grabbed one and activated a low-frequency pulse, a sonic device designed to disorient smaller creatures. The predators yelped and scattered, retreating into the shadows. The matriarch's hum grew louder, and she shifted her scales into a pattern Elias had not seen before, a ripple of approval. "She's acknowledging my help," Elias murmured, awestruck. "Humans really can make a difference here." As he followed her along the riverbank, Elias began to notice other patterns in her behavior. The matriarch wasn't moving randomly. She was testing the land, checking for threats, and reacting to his guidance. Humans, he realized, were uniquely capable of this type of interaction. We think, adapt, and strategize in ways no other species on Violia could. Hours later, they reached a ridge overlooking a valley filled with glowing flora and rushing rivers. The terrain was treacherous: slippery rocks, sudden drops, and narrow paths. The matriarch paused, her golden eyes fixed on the valley below. Elias felt the tension in the air. This was the perfect opportunity for disaster if anything went wrong. He studied the path carefully. "We need to go slowly. One misstep and we could both be in danger." He glanced at the matriarch, who seemed to understand. She moved cautiously, guided by his instructions and gestures. They had traveled only a short distance when another threat appeared: larger predators, bigger than anything Elias had seen before. They stalked the edges of the valley, their bodies camouflaged against the glowing forest. These were apex predators, and the matriarch was not yet ready to face them. Elias quickly devised a plan. He used a combination of light-emitting devices and sonic pulses to create illusions of larger, more dangerous creatures. The predators hesitated, unsure whether to advance. The matriarch moved with him, her body shimmering in response to the changing lights and sounds. Together, they navigated past the threat, Elia's human ingenuity protecting both of them. As the sun began to set, casting orange and purple hues over the valley, Elias realized something profound. Humans weren't just visitors here. Our intelligence, our creativity, and our ability to act quickly under pressure allowed us to influence the survival of species far beyond our own. In this alien forest, we could become guardians, allies, and partners. The matriarch stopped near a cluster of glowing fungi and lowered her head to rest. Elias knelt nearby, exhausted but exhilarated. He watched her for a long moment, noting the patterns of light pulsing along her body. He began recording everything, aware that this data could change humanity's understanding of alien ecosystems forever. Suddenly, the forest trembled beneath them. A massive branch snapped, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. The matriarch's eyes widened, and Elias realized they were not alone. A rival predator, a massive armored creature with jagged claws, emerged from the shadows, clearly drawn by the matriarch's presence. Elias' heart raced. He had to think fast. He reached into his pack and deployed a series of sonic traps, carefully arranged to confuse and mislead the creature. The predator growled, its massive body shifting as it tried to navigate the illusions. The matriarch shifted her body closer to him, relying on his quick thinking to protect her. Together, they maneuvered through the dangerous terrain. Elias led her along narrow paths, across slippery rocks, and past sudden drops. Each step required careful calculation, observation, and quick reflexes. Every action highlighted human adaptability, our ability to use intellect, tools, and strategy in ways that no other species could. Finally, they reached a safe clearing near a small lake, glowing softly under the setting suns. The matriarch lowered her head to drink, and Elias watched her, amazed by her grace and intelligence. He felt a deep connection to her and to the planet itself. Humans, he realized, could do more than survive on Violia. They could help life thrive. As night fell, Elias set up a temporary camp, careful to leave the matriarch undisturbed. He studied the data he had collected, marveling at the intricate patterns of interaction. Her early season had begun because of him, and through patience, courage, and ingenuity, he had guided her safely through danger. Lieutenant Mara's voice broke through the quiet of the calm. "Captain Kane, update. Are you safe?" "We're safe for now," Elias replied. "She trusts us, and I think she's learning from humans just as much as we're learning from her." Mara was silent for a moment. "You really think humans can make a difference here?" Elias smiled, tired but triumphant. "I know we can. This is just the beginning." As he lay under the glowing canopy, Elias watched the matriarch drift into the shadows of the forest. Her hum resonated softly through the ground, a song of trust and connection. He understood that the early season was not just a biological cycle. It was an opportunity for humans to prove themselves, to show that courage, intelligence, and empathy could influence even the most powerful species in the galaxy. The forest pulsed around him, alive with countless unseen eyes. Elias felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had known before. Humans were more than explorers. They were partners, protectors, and catalysts for life itself. And as the twin moons rose above the horizon, casting soft silver light over the glowing forest, Elias Kane knew one thing for certain. The matriarch's journey was far from over. Danger would return, challenges would rise, but humans, clever, adaptable, and brave, would be ready. For the first time, Elias truly understood what humanity could offer the galaxy. Not just survival, but influence, protection, and hope. And that realization filled him with determination. Tomorrow, they would face the next challenge together. Elias Kane awoke to the soft glow of Violia's twin suns, filtering through the towering canopy. The forest seemed calmer today, yet he sensed a tension beneath its beauty, a quiet reminder that danger was never far. The matriarch's early season had begun the day he met her, and now her trust had made her vulnerable. He adjusted his pack and checked the sensors once more. The forest was alive, every movement and vibration carrying potential threats. Yet, Elias felt a strange confidence. Humans had navigated the dangers before. They had saved the matriarch, guided her, and learned from her. Now, the final challenge awaited, leading her to a safe nesting area far across treacherous terrain before rival predators or natural hazards could strike. "Lieutenant Mara," he said into the comm, "we're moving. The matriarch is ready. Keep scanners active. We may encounter everything from rivers to predators today." Mara's voice came back tense. "Understood, we'll follow your lead." The matriarch rose from her resting spot, scales shimmering in a radiant display of violet and green. She looked at Elias, her golden eyes filled with intelligence and trust. He knelt slightly, signaling patience. She responded with a slow nod, then began moving. Elias followed, careful to match her pace. The path ahead was dangerous. Narrow ridges wound over deep ravines, rushing rivers cut through the forest, and cliffs loomed with sheer drops. Every step required careful observation and human ingenuity. Elias scanned ahead, using light-emitting devices to illuminate hidden obstacles and sonic pulses to deter lurking predators. Halfway along the ridge, the forest trembled again. A pack of massive, predatory creatures emerged from the shadows. Their scales glimmered like obsidian, teeth sharp and glinting, eyes locked on the matriarch. Elias froze for a heartbeat, then acted. He quickly deployed a series of decoys, small drones with light and sound, to confuse the predators. The creatures hesitated, snarling as illusions of larger, threatening animals appeared around them. Elias led the matriarch along a safer path, guiding her across narrow stone ledges. Every step demanded focus, agility, and precise calculation. "Keep her close," Elias whispered. "Don't let them flank us." The matriarch shifted her body in response, staying near him. She had learned to trust him, and her reactions were now almost synchronized with his movements. Elias realized that humans weren't just observers here, they were partners in survival. Their ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking made a real difference, even against creatures far larger and more powerful. As they approached a fast-flowing river, Elias noticed that the natural crossing had been partially washed away. The river roared like a beast, too wide to jump, too deep to wade safely. He scanned the area and spotted a fallen tree bridging the river upstream. "This way," he said, gesturing. Carefully, he led the matriarch along the narrow trunk. Her glowing scales reflected in the water below, and Elias held his breath as she crossed. One slip, one misstep, and disaster would strike. But she moved gracefully, adapting to his instructions. When she reached the other side, she lowered her head slightly, almost in gratitude. Elias allowed himself a small smile, but relief was short-lived. A shadow passed overhead. A massive predator, larger than anything Elias had encountered, swooped down, clearly targeting the matriarch. He reacted instantly, activating a sonic pulse to startle the creature and confuse its attack. It faltered mid-flight, giving Elias the chance to guide the matriarch to a small alcove behind the riverbank. Elias' heart pounded, but he kept his composure. This was human adaptability at its finest, thinking fast, acting decisively, and using the environment creatively. The matriarch's safety depended on him, and he refused to fail. Hours passed as they navigated the dense forest. Every predator, every obstacle, every natural hazard tested Elias' skills. He relied on ingenuity, calm observation, and understanding the matriarch's behavior. Humans, he realized, thrived because they could learn, adapt, and solve problems under pressure. It was this combination of courage and intelligence that made them capable of influencing life on worlds like Violia. Finally, they reached the edge of a glowing valley, a safe nesting area where other matriarchs had previously laid their young. The river flowed gently, the terrain was stable, and predators were scarce. Elias exhaled, relief washing over him. They had made it. The matriarch paused at the edge, golden eyes meeting his once more. Her body pulsed with vibrant colors, a display Elias now understood as a form of communication. She had completed her journey, guided by human skill and patience. He knelt, watching her settle near the soft moss that would serve as her nesting ground. For the first time, Elias felt the full weight of what had happened. Humans were not just explorers or scientists, they were protectors, allies, and catalysts for life. Their presence, their intelligence, and their courage had altered the course of this matriarch's life. Through patience and ingenuity, they had ensured the survival of a species during its most vulnerable moment. As night fell, the twin moons rose over the valley, casting silver light over the glowing forest. Elias set up camp a short distance away, careful not to disturb her. He recorded every detail, documenting the journey and interactions. The data would change humanity's understanding of alien life forever. Humans were capable of influencing ecosystems, not through force, but through empathy, strategy, and intelligence. Lieutenant Mara's voice came softly through the calm. "Captain Kane, you did it. She's safe." "I can't believe what we've seen." Elias smiled, exhausted but proud. "It wasn't just me. Humans as a species made this possible. Courage, intelligence, adaptation, that's what matters. This is how we influence worlds." The matriarch hummed softly in the distance, a song that resonated through the forest. Elias felt it in his chest, a subtle vibration that conveyed trust, recognition, and connection. She had accepted humans as part of her world, and in return, humans had safeguarded her life and her future. The night passed peacefully. Elias watched over the matriarch, and as dawn approached, he saw the first signs of new life. The matriarch had begun her nesting cycle, laying eggs that would grow into the next generation. She had completed her early season safely, and humanity had played a vital role in that success. Elias reflected on the journey. Humans were often underestimated on alien worlds, thought to be fragile or limited. Yet here, on Violia, their ingenuity, adaptability, and courage had proven otherwise. They could survive, thrive, and even protect life far beyond their own species. Humanity's role in the galaxy was not just exploration, it was stewardship. The matriarch rose and moved gracefully toward her nesting area. Elias followed at a respectful distance, recording every movement. He understood now that his presence, his decisions, and his guidance had lasting consequences. Humans were capable of influencing ecosystems, forming bonds with alien species, and shaping the future of life on distant worlds. Hours later, as the suns rose high, Elias finally allowed himself to rest. The matriarch was safe. The predators were kept at bay. The eggs were secure. He looked around at the glowing forest, breathing in the clean, alien air. Humanity had proven its worth, not through force but through courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. Lieutenant Mara's voice came through one last time. "Captain Kane, I think we've witnessed something extraordinary. Humanity really is remarkable." Elias nodded, smiling. "Not just humanity, us. Humans, yes, but every choice we make, every risk we take, that's what matters. We can make a difference, even in the most dangerous and alien places." The matriarch's hum rose in a gentle melody, resonating across the valley. Elias felt a profound connection, not just to her but to life itself. This moment, her early season, his guidance, the survival of her species, was proof that humans were more than explorers. They were allies, guardians, and catalysts for life across the stars. And as he watched the forest pulse with vibrant light, Elias Kane knew that humanity's journey had only just begun. One day, their influence would reach far beyond Violia, shaping the fate of countless worlds. But here, in this glowing alien forest, they had already proven their potential. The matriarch lowered her head, and Elias knew that in this strange, beautiful place, humans and Violians were bound by trust, courage, and the shared will to survive and thrive. The early season had started with him, and now it had ended in harmony, a harmony that spoke to the true power of humanity. He smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning.